China has long invested in power projection capabilities, and what we're seeing is sort of the fruits of those investments. China now has a growing fleet of amphibious assault vessels. Some of them should be considered mini carriers. China also has been developing a fleet of combat logistics ships that are absolutely critical in providing the logistical support to conduct such expeditionary operations. In fact, without the combat logistics fleet, these types of blue water operations are simply impossible. So why would China want to develop this power projection tool, and what might they be used for in the Indian Ocean region in particular? It seems to me that these ships obviously have a warfighting role. They're very good at projecting forces ashore, whether it's landing ground troops, landing equipment and material, and so forth. But this power projection force, of course, also has many other uses, including in particular humanitarian assistance, disaster relief type operations. These ships are very well suited in doing so. And China has an interest in developing such a constabulary capability because China's growing global economic footprint around the world means that Chinese nationals now live abroad, many of them living in frankly unstable, in fact dangerous places. China, of course, has had to evacuate Chinese nationals from places like Libya and Sudan and elsewhere. And so China has, in fact, an intrinsic national interest to develop these types of platforms to be able to evacuate its own nationals, but also to protect its other overseas interests. And I think there's an important historical lesson that Chinese leaders have learned too, which was China's failure to show up after the devastating tsunami in 2004, where many other navies showed up to help the various countries that suffered from the tsunami, and China had nothing to show for it. And so I think Chinese leaders decided 20 years ago, never again. China needed to have an independent capability to be able to show to the world that China has arrived on the world stage. And one can imagine various types of natural disasters, perhaps things like things associated with climate change, for example, where HADR missions will likely become more prevalent along the Indian Ocean littorals. Chinese leaders believe that the Chinese Navy can play a salutary role in that context. It's not just that China believes that it needs to defend its own overseas interests and also to conduct these humanitarian missions, which is that as China develops a more permanent and credible presence in the Indian Ocean, is that these power projection forces will also allow China to flex its diplomatic muscles. You can envision that these platforms would give China the ability to conduct what's been called gunboat diplomacy, to engage in shows of force, to intimidate various states in South Asia, depending on the circumstances. So this isn't a benign, it's not necessarily just a benign force, it's not just a force for good. These are weapons of war that can also be used in some very coercive ways, again, depending on the circumstances.